There's a storm brewing in the Caribbean, not one of nature but of power. The world's largest warship, the USS Gerald R is edging closer to Venezuela. Washington says it's fighting drug traffickers. Caracas says it's facing a covert war. And caught between those two versions of the truth lies a question the world must ask. Is this really about narcotics, or is it about a regime change? Because when America sends aircraft carriers, it's rarely just about drugs. It's about dominance, about who calls the shots in Latin America. And when Donald Trump is at the helm, it's about headlines, politics, and projection of power. This is the Worldview through Bharat's lens with Vaanya, and tonight we decode what's really happening off Venezuela's coast, why Trump's moves are shaking the Caribbean, and what it tells us about the US's old obsession, controlling what it can't understand. Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro says the US is fabricating a new eternal war against him. Why? Because the world's largest warship, the USS Gerald R is inching closer to Venezuela's coast. Since September, US forces have carried out 11 strikes on boats in Venezuelan waters. Washington claims those boats were trafficking drugs linked to a criminal gang called Tren de Aragua. But here's the catch. No evidence has been made public. Maduro says it's all a lie. Venezuela doesn't even produce coca leaves, he reminds the world. And he's right. According to the UN, most cocaine comes from Colombia, Peru and Bolivia, not Venezuela. So is it about drugs or about power? Experts say Trump's moves have very little to do with narcotics and everything to do with narrative control and leverage. For Trump, taking on Maduro is good politics. It fires up his MAGA base, tough on crime, tough on drugs, tough on foreign enemies. But it's also about geopolitical dominance. The message is loud and clear. The Americas belongs to us. It's a revival of the Monroe Doctrine, the old US policy that told Europe, stay out of the Western Hemisphere. Now it's being used to push back against Russia, China and Iran, who've been deepening their ties in Latin America. Think about it. China held 97 military exchanges with 18 Latin American countries in just 3 years. Russia is also building ties with Venezuela and Nicaragua. For Trump, that's a red flag, and Venezuela becomes a stage to prove a point. Then there's the oil. Venezuela holds the largest proven oil reserves in the world. Control the licenses, the shipping, the refining, and you control the leverage. It's not about seizing oil wells, it's about holding the pen that signs the deals. So yes, Maduro's claims that Washington wants regime change, it's not far-fetched. He calls it an operation to take control of Venezuela's resources. Trump hasn't denied it, and that silence says a lot. But Venezuela isn't alone. Trump's foreign policy reach extends far beyond its borders. Let's take a quick world tour. Brazil. When Jair Bolsonaro, Trump's ally in the so-called Trump of the South, was convicted for trying to overturn Brazil's 2022 elections, Trump hit Brazil with 50% tariff. Why? Because he called Bolsonaro's trial a witch hunt. India. Trump slammed a 25% additional tariff on Indian goods, saying India was fueling Russia's war by buying its oil. He even claimed victory later, saying Modi promised to stop buying Russian oil. Whether that's true or not, that's another story. Israel. Amid Netanyahu's corruption trial, Trump stood in Israel's parliament, the Knesset, and said, "Why don't you pardon him?" Imagine, a US president lobbying for a person inside another country's legislature. Argentina. Trump's new favorite? Far-right President Javier Milei. He's called him a fantastic leader and backed him with a potential $20 billion bailout deal to rescue Argentina's economy. Iran. And when it comes to Iran, the stakes turn deadly. Trump authorized airstrikes on 3 nuclear enrichment sites, claiming total success in destroying them. That move sent shock waves across the Middle East. What's the pattern here? Pressure, power, and publicity. Trump's foreign policy runs like a business deal. High drama, high stakes, and high visibility. He rewards ideological allies, punishes opponents, and puts on a show for his domestic audience. Trump says he's targeting drug gangs. Maduro says it's an operation for regime change, and the rest of the world watching cautiously. The US has struck 11 Venezuelan boats without showing evidence. It's moved nuclear-capable bombers into the Caribbean and is reviving an old script, the Monroe Doctrine, rewritten for the 21st century. But here's the irony. Venezuela is not Iraq, it's not Libya. It's a nation rich in oil, scarred by sanctions and still refusing to kneel. Trump's strategy may win him applause in Florida, but on the global stage, it risks another endless standoff. Because history has shown us, you can bomb a coastline, but you can't bomb legitimacy. You can sink boats, but not the nation's will. The real question is, how long will the world tolerate one nation's self-appointed right to police others? And will Venezuela be the next chapter in America's long list of interventions, or the first country to draw a red line that lasts? Because to truly understand power, you must first question the story it tells. I'm Vaanya and this is the Worldview through Bharat's lens, only on YMCA Sanchar.